Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Build. I'm your host, Cole Delbick. Today, we're joined by drag race legends and two of my favorite queens to ever grace the main stage, Jinkx Monsoon and BenDeLaCreme. Between them, they have Snatch Game wins galore, a handful of face crack moments for the history books, the ability to read just about anybody for filth, and perhaps more importantly, the hearts of drag race fans everywhere. Now they've teamed up again for their new holiday show, All I Want for Christmas is Attention, so let's make sure to give them some, and give it up for Jinkx Monsoon and BenDeLaCreme.
Well, hello, thanks for...
Are we on?
I don't know, am I? Can you? Oh,
go.
yeah, now, okay, great. Hi.
Hi, thank you so much for being here in these coordinating Christmas looks. They're truly excellent.
I'm sorry, she's got a purple feather from her last press
Oh,
junket.
it's true. I've done so many changes today. Oh, what a day. Yeah, Jinkx is dressed for Christmas in the boardroom. I'm dressed for Christmas and more Christmas.
You know, I was thinking, when I think of Jinkx, you and Christmas, I'm immediately transported to that lip sync between you and Detox in season 5, where you're in that candy cane
When
fantasy.
I had that brilliant idea to be a candy cane for some reason. Yeah.
You were also a deer.
With horns, I remember. Yeah.
I'm very well known for my half-baked ideas because generally I'm half-baked as well.
You know, as drag race fans, we're constantly sort of rewatching those iconic lip syncs and moments, and of course they live on like for eternity in memes and in Twitter. But do you two go back and watch any of those moments from sort of your years past, or is it sort of too stressful?
Jinkx does all the time. Oh, can't get enough.
I actually maybe I'll watch a moment that I really like. Like I've probably watched that lip sync a couple hundred times, but in general I don't watch my season because it gives me PTSD, and mainly I just feel like I'm such a different person from 8 years ago when I filmed that season. So I just kind of want to like reach into the screen and slap myself around and say, stop saying weird things, you weirdo.
But you haven't.
No.
What about you, DeLa?
Yeah, no, I don't really rewatch. When I think I probably watched both seasons twice because we would do these viewing parties, and there's a bunch of drunk gays screaming very loud. So then you have to watch it in private so you can process all your emotions. But yeah, since then I don't know. We I think as stage performers are really like I don't know. It takes a live audience such as this one to really keep us.
But it was very special because when I was on, DeLa hosted a viewing party, and we would do, anytime we were both in Seattle and we both still lived there, we would do a viewing party together. So we would have to watch each episode in front of an audience, like very much like, isn't this hilarious? Oh, me, I'm so kooky. And then the next day we'd watch it again and like clutch each other crying and stuff. But
Since it was a bit traumatizing, do you have favorite moments from the other's sort of drag race career that maybe you could share?
from other people?
From each other.
Oh, from each other. I thought DeLa was just... DeLa was so great on season 6, but on All Stars, I feel like the world got to meet the BenDeLaCreme that I've always known, which is probably one of the most brilliant drag performers I've ever worked with and one of the best friends I've ever had.
Good for that, yes.
Oh.
I'll cut your check later. But, and you know, when Jinkx was on, obviously it was before I was, and I have never been prouder. I just really, cementing the sisterhood in the way that it's like, you know, when you see a drag queen you've worked with for a long time, experience so much success and really just shine that much, it really, you know, it clues you into how that person is going to carry themselves in the future, you know, and that kind of instant fame can really change some people. And Jinkx has just remained not only one of the most talented people I know, but also just one of the most generous spirits and genuinely kind. So
we also had a tradition of drinking like 4 to 5 martinis
yeah, we
in
drank
the
a
duration of an episode.
that's another reason we had to rewatch the next day.
So by the end of the episode, we'd be like, okay, you guys, have a great night. And then we go down to the dressing room and we're like, no, you listen. I love you.
I mean, you two are such sort of an iconic duo. It's like an Avengers team up, and I know that the fans love it so much. And so for the almost entirety of December, you guys are going out on this new Christmas show with the truly great title, All I Want for Christmas is Attention, across the U.S. and in the U.K. as well. So how are you feeling before it starts? Are you excited? Are you sick of each other? What's going on?
We're not sick of each other yet, no. But DeLa loves to stress. Like, DeLa thrives on assuming that the world is going to end.
I do enjoy that.
Yeah.
It's a great time for it, too.
And we both are we are both perfectionists, but for different things. So together, we just comb over everything as we're creating the show. We like edit as we create, which isn't the most time efficient. Like, we'll write one sentence and then go back and forth saying like, yes, but how will this impact the sentence we say 3 pages from now? But I think that's why in the end we're so proud of what we've created, because we put nonstop effort into it while we're creating it.
And while we've worked together for a long time, we've never really truly co-written something just the two of us. But because we did a Christmas tour last year to Jesus Thanks for Everything, Jinkx and DeLa, we really had the opportunity to figure out what our style is of co-creating. So this year it feels much more known, and so I don't know, I'm very excited about the whole endeavor.
Yeah, tell us a bit more what we can expect, because you guys have collaborated for over a decade now, and you've done a Halloween show.
We
You've done
sound
Drag
old when you
Becomes
say
Her.
it that way. For eons and eons.
No, and I hope to continue for eons and eons. So what sort of new, fresh, exciting things besides sort of this co-writing credit are you sort of excited to bring to the fans?
In context of this show in particular? Oh yeah, well, you know, so this is my producer credit in terms of this is the first time that I'm going to be producing something internationally. So that's really exciting because there's not a ton of drag queens who are producing for themselves and other drag artists. And I think that, you know, there's no one more invested in, you know, our work than we are. So certainly not audiences, but no, so it's great to be able to really bring everything to it that that assures that people are going to get the best show possible. So I'd say, you know, it's the writing, it's the producing, but in the context of the show, I mean, we really kind of utilize all the tricks in our bag, be it.
Yeah, it's like it's taking all the best of the two of us and weaving it together cohesively, which is probably the cohesion is the biggest task.
That's the biggest thing that I bring to the table.
We are very distinctly different as stage personas and performers. And even though we share such similar aesthetics and we have a similar mission statement as artists, I describe our differences as like I write my shows and perform my shows without the fourth wall, where everything's me talking to the audience, whereas DeLa is bashing her head against the fourth wall the entire time.
I still don't know what that means, but it sounds great.
So it was an interesting challenge last year to find a way to marry our two writing styles, but in the end, I just felt so proud because it was that challenging, you know? In the end, I just felt like we could really stamp our names on it and take a bow at the end of every night because we worked really hard and we believed in the message we were sending.
Also because we were on stage and the show was over, so people expected it.
You know, I'm so impressed that this is your first producer credit, and we had Sasha Velour come through here not too long ago, and we had this great conversation about the importance of drag artists being at the center and control of their own art and producing their own art instead of others profiting from that. And I love that that fits into sort of what we're talking about now. And so do you feel like that's an important sentiment to sort of lead through your career and what you want to continue to do?
Yeah, I mean, I've actually been self-producing in Seattle for a very long time. And so taking it on as a tour thing is very much, I mean, I think it's the wave of the future, you know, as drag queens really start to step into their own even more and embrace their power. You know, this is the ultimate way to do it. You know, we don't have to have we don't have to have like a fellow with a cigar chomping next to the stage, slapping us on the butt on our way out and hit it, toots. Although Jinkx does say that to me.
I mean, I've been touring since Drag Race for about 8 years now, and I've been working in the drag field since I was like 15.
A literal field.
Out sowing the oats of the drag field. And I just, what really disappoints me is that even if you're working with queer producers and it's an all-queer cast and maybe an all-queer staff working on a tour, I just think there's still so much inherent misogyny where those of us, even though we may all be male-bodied in the cast and in the producer crew, the fact that we present as femme and the fact that we are, feminine entities, it's just hard to ignore the underlying misogyny that exists even within the queer entertainment business. There's a lot of cis queer men who treat drag queens like we work for them, but actually we work for ourselves. And if anything, they work for us because their production company wouldn't exist without us.
Yes, let's give it up for that. I love that. No, I think it's such an important conversation to have, and I imagine a show like this, it's sort of a massive undertaking because you're doing it all yourself in a different sort of mode than maybe those big sort of Rue Girls tours where you pop in for a number and it feels like less ownership over what you're doing.
We're also not, although certainly our faces got out there through Drag Race, our show is not Drag Race related. We'll pepper in a pander for y'all.
Yeah.
But but for the most part, I think that so many of those shows are really okay, this is format, here's a lip sync, here's what you all think a drag show is, where it's we really like to make, we're drag queens who make theater and who make variety, and so I think it's unique in that way as well.
Yeah, one thing that I'm really proud of myself and of DeLa is that we both had very distinct goals for our careers and for ourselves as artists before we went on Drag Race. And then post Drag Race, we used the new platform that we gained and the new audience that we gained to take what we were doing locally to a global stage. And so, I am interested pretty much exclusively in being a drag queen actor, doing theater and doing earnest, genuine theatrical work in drag. And DeLa has been producing things, like she said, for years. And that's actually how we met. I love this story. But
Could you please tell us how you met? Yeah, I want to know the origin story.
So, MySpace...
Remember that, kids? Is that still relevant?
Told me about how... Wait, was it probably Facebook? Let's go with MySpace because Jinkx is old. MySpace told me about a drag queen who was in town. Now, I was in Seattle and I've been doing stuff for quite a while. And there was this drag queen who had just graduated from our local college for the arts, Cornish. And everyone there was something about this buzz that really, I was like, I need to go out and see what this person is up to. I went to a local Starbucks at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. There were about 7 folding chairs set up in the corner and a keyboard. And for free, we all sat down and watched The Vaudevillians with Jinkx Monsoon and Major Scales, which years later then went on to have months of extensions here in New York City. But at the time, it was just these two wacky, scrappy little kids, and Jinkx was wearing the most. If you think her outfits are crazy now, she. I just love it. She used to put on these dresses that didn't fit her at all. They would stop here, and then she would just find a bra that was the same color and kind of hope that you didn't notice that the dress ended and the bra began. And so this is what I was seeing at this Starbucks, but it was so incredible. And she was such a powerhouse, and so was Major, that I went up to her with my business card afterwards, because in my mind I was like, if I do not cast her in one of my shows right now, we will be bitter rivals, and I am not having that, so we're going to become friends.
Yeah, and I had been told repeatedly by Seattle people, oh, you got to go check out BenDeLaCreme. And, by the time I was 22, I had been doing drag for 7 years. And so when someone tells me, go see this drag queen, she's the best drag queen in town, my brain is like, oh yeah, right. Like once you've seen one drag bar show, you've seen them all. And so many people told me over and over, you gotta see BenDeLaCreme. And when she handed me her card, I, made the small talk and was very polite. And then she walked away and I looked at the card and I'm like, wait, that was the person I'm supposed to go see. And then when I finally did see one of her live shows, all I could think was like, okay, this is what I need to be doing. And she lit a fire in me first as a producer and then as a friend to really like say, this is what I'm worth. This is, I know I'm talented enough to demand certain things out of my career and out of the people that I work with. And she kind of just helped me take my drag from being a bar karaoke queen into being an honest-to-goodness cabaret superstar.
DeLa, I want to piggyback off something you said about, it's so important to stay on your favorite Rude Girls in the show, but then to see them outside of that context and support them at their local gigs across the country, across the world, and also support other local drag queens who haven't been on the show, because it really is a different way to sort of appreciate the talent, and you see so much else that you wouldn't have never seen in that show. So I really encourage all of you to go see this tour, but also go to your local drag bar, see a drag queen perform, and sort of outside of just that context is so important, I think.
Drag Race is amazing, but there is absolutely so much more that is happening out there at these live shows, and people are always like, "Oh, this is so different from what I saw on Drag Race," and it's like, "Yeah, it's a live show, and the show is awesome, but there's no other way to experience it."
Yeah, and I mean, I love creating cabaret work and, a show with an arc and a story and live singing and stuff. But to this day, there's nothing better than hunkering down at your local drag bar and watching, no joke, like a 3-hour drag show with like 8 performers, each doing 6 numbers. And you live there for the evening. And it's so much fun. And we've been doing press all day today, and we've been walking around the streets of New York in these exact outfits. And it's just so fun to see that now that I've been doing drag for half my whole life, that it hasn't changed. When a person walks by a drag queen on the street, they might have like a weird reaction, but 90% of the time, they are smiling and just happy to see these creatures existing in the world.
In their natural habitat.
The gutter.
I really love that you guys have sort of owned this holiday show in a sense, because I think that's a really sort of difficult time for a lot of queer people. Going home, seeing their families can be, it's not the almost welcoming or hospitable environment to be your authentic self. So I love that you've created this space. And that the show is really informed about like addressing maybe queer trauma ahead of the holidays and making it fun and friendly. So how did that sort of inform crafting the show and what we'll see on stage?
Well, I think our sort of mission statement is that we, this is a time that is hard for a lot of queer people because of the messaging of home for the holidays, family togetherness, but that's also a difficult thing for many people. And there's so many ways, if you don't celebrate Christmas, it takes over the world for months. If you do celebrate Christmas, there's all sorts of ways that it can feel damaging. So really the bottom line is that what we all have in common around now is that the holidays are traumatic universally in different ways. And so that is a way that we can all bond. And if we just embrace it, then we can celebrate it.
Yeah, last year when we were writing the show for the first time, I just kept talking about how my whole life I always said, the holidays and Christmas time is my favorite time of the year because it's the one time of year my whole family comes together and gets along. But then as I told the stories of my Christmases and holidays growing up, it all ended with my family fighting and wanting to kill each other. And I was like, why do I think this is the best time of the year? Oh, it's because I've been told this is the best time of the year. And you can either agree or you can sit by yourself in a corner,
It makes me think, shortly after I came out, I actually took my parents to go see the Vaudevillians in San Francisco. And, they were generally accepting, but they were also very uncomfortable and sort of had a lot of questions. And it was so special to include them in that night and feel like they're also a part of that community, and it's still something my dad talks about to this day. So as much as the show could probably be an escape for, you know, queer people to the holidays, I think it's also one that you should bring your family to, and it could possibly be healing and sort of like a nice memory as well.
Yeah, what I really love about being a drag performer is drag is a lot of people's first way in to understanding and accepting the queer community. You know, it starts with entertainment, and it starts with someone laughing at a joke when they've gotten dragged to a drag show and they think, oh, this isn't for me, I'm gonna hate this. And then halfway through the show, something speaks to them. And then by the end of the show, they're now obsessed with drag queens. And through being obsessed with drag queens, they learn more about the queer community. They learn more about gender politics and gender liberation, and they learn new terms. And it's not always perfect. You know, there are some people who just get into the drag and don't really want to pay attention to the rest of the struggles our community is dealing with. But I think more often than not, people come to be allies to the queer community with drag as their first step towards that.
Before we go to audience Q&A, I want to just ask one question, because both of you are Snatch Game legends, only contestant to win the Snatch Game twice.
Well, I haven't had the chance. I mean,
I'm sure you would if you had the chance.
Don't worry, she'll remind you that the reason she didn't have the chance is because she won the first time.
yeah, you don't have to do All-Stars if you do it right the first time, so.
I mean, will there be any celebrity impersonations here in the show? And second question, if you were to be dropped in that Snatch Game seat today, which celebrity would you choose to impersonate?
Oh God, it was so hard to figure out the first one, and then the second one was even harder. I don't know. Jinkx has a new thing where she does Little Edie as
No, Drew Barrymore playing Little Edie in the HBO movie, but with no Little Edie affectation. Just like Drew Barrymore saying the lines like, "Mother wanted me to come out in a kimono, so we had quite a fight."
Someone please greenlight this. Oh my gosh.
But I shouldn't give this away because it's a spoiler, but let's face it, like, when are they ever going to call me for All-Stars? Anyway, I really want to do Judy and Liza, where this side of me, you know, like this side of my body is Liza, and this side of my body is Judy, and they're constantly like fighting. Well, RuPaul, I just think that the answer should be Liza. Why are you talking to RuPaul like this right now?
Renee. Renee Zellweger's shaking. That was
Well, she only got the role because I turned it down.
Gotcha.
So.
She'll thank you in the speech. Anyone pop up for you, DeLa?
Jinkx has enough personalities for both of us. You know, the one that I was going to do for Snatch Game before I abandoned and did Paul Lynde at the last moment was Kellyanne Conway. But really, that was just so I could wear that inauguration Nutcracker outfit, which I still just have in my closet.
I'm sure you'll find the right time for it. Okay, we're going to hand it over to some audience questions. Hi.
Hi, this is a question from our website. What's one personality trait you wish you possessed from each other?
One personality trait we wish we possessed from each other.
Lack of filter.
Thank you.
No, but really, it's for that. Like Jinkx doesn't think much before she talks. No. What I mean is that Jinkx just really has this ability to just kind of go and let it all get out there. Like I like really get caught up in thought around talking, but Jinkx just lets it roll. I have to meticulously write everything.
That's so funny.
Jinkx just talks.
I was gonna say your consciousness.
Oh.
Because I had never seen political drag done so artfully until I saw one of DeLa's one-woman shows. And then I was like, oh, this is how you do political drag very entertainingly. So she's just very conscientious and mindful.
Yin and yang.
Perfect compliment.
Is that how you say that?
And we have one more question for you.
Hi. What is your guys' go-to karaoke song?
Mr. Boombastic by Shaggy.
I've seen her do it, and it is amazing. Mine's probably Creep by Radiohead, but lately it's been Goodbye Yellow Brick Road, Elton John.
I love your rendition of Creep.
Oh, thank you.
Okay.
What about my rendition of Mr. Boombastic?
I would love to hear. In fact, if you would love to, no. We have to let you go, but thank you so much for being here. And everybody make sure to buy tickets to All I Want for Christmas is Attention. And give it up for Jinkx and DeLa, everybody.